All right, welcome everybody. We're week 5 of Wilds of Eldraine League. Happy Canadian Thanksgiving as well. We're here tonight for our feature matches. We got Zach C here. We saw him a couple weeks ago, and he's doing quite well in the standings here. Unfortunately, took a mulligan with 0 lands in this first one, and he's up against Jordan M. So one of our most accomplished players on the server, and Raphael's going to tell us all about his deck. I did play him earlier today, so I might have an idea of what he's running, which was a green-black deck with a bunch of splashes. But what's he holding there?
I just want to congratulate Jordan on being one of the very few purists of this league, not taking anything other than woe packs. Congratulations. It's very hard not to be tempted by mom. So, and his standings, he's done quite well just taking woe only. But he's got 5 lands, including the 3 in hand and the 2 on field. He's going to cast a Brave the Wilds here from his hand, grab maybe blue, it looks like. And then he has the Elvish Archivist and the Tangled Lookout. So really nothing to activate any of these cards just yet, but there could be a lot of draw coming in the mid game if so nothing's taken care of.
I believe he has 2, maybe he has 3 Tangle Spy Lookout, and I know he has 2 of that rare, that Elvish Archivist. Wow. So he's really built around having those, because there's with 4 or 5 of those effects in your deck, there's a good chance you're going to get one each game, and his deck is very focused around getting value drawn from that. Zach has clocked that this thing needs to die, so he's going to Witchstalker Frenzy it right here, right now. A wise move indeed. Left in Zach hands, we have a Hopeless Nightmare, which kind of did me in when I was playing him last week. He played 2 of them after I'd mulliganed. He has a Mountain, a Cut In, and a Merry Bards. So we got 2 all woe decks here clashing.
Interesting. I mean, Jordan did just draw a Feed the Cauldron, so he can take care of that survivor role pretty well. But even still, though, outside of that, it's just 3 lands in hand, so the hand's quite slow in this setting. He's actually just going to fire it off right away.
Yeah, so this is going to grow the Archivist. However, I'm assuming Zach's just going to get this out of play right away. He has a Cut In and a Taken by Nightmares. He could play as Merry Bards and just pass and let Jordan potentially get more value, but I think Merry Bards can wait.
I think it's an interesting choice, right? But I guess it makes sense to cut it down here, right? Because if you play your Merry Bards next turn anyway, you're still getting the exact same roll.
Yeah, and again, this Merry Bards is like, it's not. I mean, I guess it's a threat in theory, but it's not like some crazy card that has to be dealt with. And to me, the Archivist is something I'd be very afraid of. Jordan's down to 2 cards in hand. That being alive could pull him back into the game.
Yeah. We do know that Jordan does have, I forget her name, the green-white woe chick that can create a copy of an enchantment.
Yeah, so he's splashing for Yenna, and he's splashing for Talion, the kindly lord, who he now has 2 copies of, thanks to the pack that I opened him from earlier today. So he's got 2 of those hanging out in his deck. I know he's got a Fawn's Bane Troll, just from playing him earlier today. So I think the last card is going to get nabbed here by the Hopeless Nightmare, and then
Jordan won't be too sad to see his land go, but it'll make Zach feel a little better.
So now, he can play. So now they're kind of both going to be working off the top of the deck. Zach does have a Taken by Nightmares here, which can scry him, so I'm sure he'll be happy about that. Yeah, Jordan is. I mean, he's made 9 top 8s, I think, in 11 leagues since he joined. So he's 13-8 right now. So he's gotta get moving if he wants to make a 10th top 8 here this week. And Zach is well in line for a top 8 appearance at 18 wins here, with 2 matches left to go this week. We're actually going to be seeing him at 8:30 tonight as well, facing our current almost runaway leader of the standings, Nick. What's Jordan drawn here?
Anything Jordan's drawn your favorite little 2-drop mana dork, the Bramble Familiar. I'm gonna assume he's not gonna want to cast it onto the board right now. Wanting to use that adventure to get a bit more, I guess, gas going here. This Familiar isn't really gonna do a whole lot on this board.
Yeah, so Jordan's realized Zach is the aggro player, so he doesn't need to attack with his Hollow Scavenger, even though he does have a clean attack with 2 foods in play. He said, I could just leave it here to block. I don't need this as much as my opponent needs their board presence. Um, you know, assumedly because he is playing green, he does have, some big stuff in his deck. But I imagine Zach's going to attack and make him block here.
Yeah, I was going to ask, does Zach have anything in hand to back up this attack?
Yeah, he has the Taken by Nightmares.
Okay.
He's drawn Tangled Colony, which is the rare, the rat, that he quite shrewdly dealt 5 damage to his own creature in a feature match from 2 weeks ago. So,
okay, I was going to say, I hope he uses it before Jordan can block with it, because you have to assume he's just going to block.
So another highlight of Zach's deck is his 2 copies of Hearth Elemental, one of which he's scried to the top here. So that's going to be a nice play next turn. Play his Tangled Colony and draw 2 cards. This is how the Rakdos deck can actually hang with green decks or decks that are trying to get card advantage. Is, once you played out your hand, you have a bunch of creatures on board. You got your Hearth Elemental here to clean up the rest of it. So Mary Bards is going to become a 5/4 here, a real problem for Jordan. He has drawn his Lookout here, so maybe he can get some cards going, but Zach's gonna have the high ground here.
I think Jordan's definitely looking for just any help from the top of the deck at this point. Still only having the Familiar in hand. He can eat some food, go back to 14, but Zach's definitely in a very commanding positioning right here, and I assume he's going to fire the Elemental off here.
Yeah. So I think 2 weeks ago you weren't here, but Zach was playing against Chris York, and Chris York had put a cursed roll on the Tangled Colony, so it was basically like null and void. It couldn't block and it couldn't attack. So instead of killing off, or Chris actually had his creature above 5 toughness from his sword from Mom. So Zach quite shrewdly he dealt 5 damage to his own Tangled Colony and went wide to get around that the creature that had the sword on it with protection from block.
Ooh.
So
that's quite heads up there.
Quite a shrewd move there. So very well. So looks like we're gonna get a Hamlet Glutton here, and we're gonna get a 3 life. And this game's now looking quite different. I mean, this Tangled Colony can still kind of attack if it wants to. It gets blocked by a Hamlet Glutton. That's six rats.
I don't think it's something you quite want to do, though, right? Well, actually, you know what? Yeah, why not, right? Why not make 6 rats?
I mean, Jordan realizes that's a good way to lose, is just to get, have your opponent have like 10 creatures on board to your 3. It won't take too long for the math to work out in Zach's favor. So he's played his Edgewall Pack here, which is a creature dog, and the Hearth Elemental as well. So now we might have a bit of a standoff here. Zach is no longer that interested in maybe just getting 2 rats in play. He's drawn a Fairy Fencing here, so he does have to pay full retail for that Fairy Fencing. Does not control a fairy, so right now he can do X equals 3 at the most.
And he's still pretty good for over the 6/6 blocks.
He's going to attack all. He says, I know what I need to do here. If I don't attack, even though some of my attacks aren't great, if I don't attack, Jordan's going to eventually take over the board. He has that Bramble Familiar that, can go get something else, and, he has bigger hits in his deck.
I guess Jordan's trying to decide exactly where he wants to, put blocks at. Definitely wants to try and get rid of some of the bigger things. So we're going to put 2 things on the Menace.
Yeah, he doesn't want to give Zach more rats with the Tangled Colony. However, this block means he's going to take 4.
Yeah,
from the Hearth
Elemental. Has what? Extra 3 life.
So it looks like Zach can use the Fairy Fencing here on the Hamlet Glutton.
Yeah, I have to assume it's going to be a dead Glutton and a dead Familiar. Now, can the Familiar bring itself back from the graveyard? Or is it only the field?
No, and it has Summoning Sickness, so it is a tap ability. So the Bramble Familiar is going to go to the graveyard, and he won't be able to use it unless he gets it back in his hand, right?
I mean, that'll definitely give Zach some breathing room here.
I mean, it's looking pretty nice for him now, honestly. He has a 5/4 and a 4/5, and his opponent has small creatures.
I mean, Jordan just drew
favorable.
Shatter the Oath, so
Okay.
I would believe you have the option to take care of the 5/4, the 4/5. I would think it's going to be the 5/4.
Well, if he shatters the oath on the 4/5, his 2 creatures can now double block the 5/4.
Yeah.
Rather, if he shatters the oath on the 5/4, he still can't really double block that 4/5. He won't have 5 power. So
Let's see what our resident league grinder decides to do here.
I have confidence that, that Jordan will come to the right decision here.
Oh, I think we're going for the 5/4, buddy. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, he gets a card out of this regardless, so that's nice.
Sadly, that card was a land, so there's just 2 lands in hand.
He's drawn a Barrow Naughty now, Zach, which like you would think by week 5 you're not really playing 2-mana 1/3s in your aggro deck anymore, but I mean this card can actually just come in for the last damage here on its own. Like,
I mean, I think it's a fine card, to be honest. Like the fact that it can pump itself, it's kind of interesting. And he's playing Fairy Fencing.
Yeah,
it's cute, but
it's a card I side in my deck against decks like Zach's just to have a body, but I don't really see it as like a threat. But in the late game, it is, and Jordan realizes that it's got to go.
Yeah.
So
this effectively puts Jordan back up at 6. Zach does have free attacks with his 4/5 for now.
So here's a Witch's Mark. I think he's probably just going to play it for the wicked token.
I might just hold it, to be honest, right?
Yeah, I mean, he could still just attack with his 4/5 and pass the turn and then discard whatever he draws next turn.
Like, the Wicked roll is not really doing anything here.
Well, it's dealing a damage to Jordan, right?
I'm not sure if I can get behind this because your opponent's effectively at 6 and you have free attacks for your 4/5. I found more times than not. Like sometimes my rats will just sit there for a bit. Oh, we're just going full aggro. Okay. He's thinking about it.
Yeah, no, Zach is definitely a player because I've gotten to know him a bit from doing some drafts in our local area. Like he had us over for a chaos draft and whatnot. And he's definitely a player that thinks through his plays. Like he takes the time needed to come to the right decision. Every card that you draw for your turn is a different decision here.
I'll do it. Jordan could not stop drawing lands. We'll have to see if game 2 shapes up any differently. What if Jordan changed anything on the sideboard? This list looks pretty good. As we were talking about Stab Wound earlier, Jordan is mainboarding 2 Stab Wounds along with 2 Feed the Cauldrons.
Yeah, so because of all of his guys that draw cards when an aura comes in, he's just going to probably be playing almost anything he has that makes an enchantment if he can, right?
That's a good point. It's really what? Deal with a creature, they take 2, and you get a card out of the deal?
He has, what, two or 3 lookouts by now?
I see 2 lookouts in the board.
2 lookouts and 2 Elvish Archivists, so...
Yes.
That's basically... I've seen him play a couple different combinations of colors. I know at one point he was playing green-white splashing red, then green-white splashing black, and now green-black splashing blue and white, but green has sort of been the common thread here throughout his league, just because of that foundation.
I'd say the bulk is green-black. Interestingly enough, I've been trying to figure out myself if Brave the Wilds is worth running all 3, and sure enough, he's running all 3 in his deck. But it's really just splashing Talion and the Horn Lockwell. I don't see anything else that's off color. I mean, I guess it always fixes your mana.
I know if I had access to Brave the Wilds, I'd be playing every copy that I that I had.
I know your deck's a little spicy on the colors, but would you still play like almost a play set with just 2 off-color cards?
I still think so. I first of all, it lets you shave lands. I mean, I maybe not necessarily 1-for-1, but at least the first 2 lets you shave a land as long as you have enough green sources. And just that late game, just getting a 3/3 is good. Like out of your card that essentially isn't doing much else. Like it, late game it makes you a 3/3. Like I think I'd play all of them. I don't think I'd be cutting any of them. I just think it's. I think
you're right. Enough. So I think most people run about 25 lands in their deck. I'm counting Jordan's lands. He's playing 25. So if he's doing the normal 25 split of lands, Brave the Wilds, he's treating them as a 1-to-1 ratio pretty much.
So he's playing 20. How many lands then? How many actual lands?
22 actual lands and 3 Brave the Wild.
Yeah, so that just allows them to put more spells in. Again, you do need the requisite amount of green sources. Like if you're cutting Shave the Lands for if you're cutting like swamps, or if you're cutting forest for Brave the Wilds, like if you set up your mana and then you're cutting forest to bring in Brave the Wilds, like you are lessening the ability to cast it early. Which is what you need. So it's kind of you kind of shave the other ones because the Brave the Wilds can go get you those if you have less of them.
Much of a statistician, but I mean, does 11 sound like enough of a pool?
Probably.
Right.
My brain is more geared towards like what I would want in my 40 card deck. Usually, I would want like at least 9 forests, or like 8 at the very very minimum, but usually 9. To play, all those Brave the Wilds and shave on lands.
With these 22 lands, Jordan had to almost maul twice. The first hand had no lands. The second hand only has a swamp, and I'm looking at a hand filled with pretty much green cards with 1 swamp and 1 Dream Thief. The rest of it is a Root Rider, the Welcome to Sweet Tooth, the Genealogist, and a Lookout.
Yeah, and Zach did have to take the mulligan as well here, but I think he'll manage here. He does have a Tangled Colony, so that's going to start putting on the pressure. And so we might see Brave the Wilds and lands as equal, but the Shuffler doesn't care. So.
You're not wrong. I mean, Jordan's just bailed out by the Evolving Wild. It's still going to take him a turn off, though.
That'll do.
So he needs to find a 3rd land, or he might be looking to play the Fawn turn 2.
Well, it'll be turn 3, but
yes.
Ooh, and now Zach's drawn another Hopeless Nightmare here. So this might be an actual Hopeless Nightmare here. If Jordan can't find a way out of this early mess.
I've learned to never bail on Jordan. The man's just magical.
Oh, absolutely.
So with this second Nightmare, is he going to get rid of the Fawn? Okay. So he did draw an island. This does help him cast everything in hand. Okay. I'm not sure if he's looking to trade with this 4/3 because it'd be a 2-for-1. So he's just going to decide here to play the Archivist and I guess try and set up for next turn.
All right, so Zach got 2 Merry Bards in hand, so he's just gonna play out his creatures, and they're gonna be large enough.
This might be a little.
He might put it on the rats here. Yeah, he is gonna put it on the rats. This threatens it to grow even more next turn, and Jordan is going to absolutely have to block it.
Well, sadly, Jordan just lucked out with the Witch's Vanity.
Okay, that's a clean way to get that rat off the field, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And he gets to draw a card, and if the Elvish Archivist makes it to next turn, it gets 2 counters. And if he makes it to the next turn, he gets another card. So
it's funny, he wants to play the Welcome to Sweet Tooth here, but he also wants to get more value off this Archivist.
Yeah,
so he's not playing it.
I mean, Archivist plus Witch's Vanity, it's a slow burn Cloud Blazer here, basically.
Yeah, and sure enough, he's going to decide just to hold it in hand. And I guess I'm not against it either, because it does make a 1/1. Like, sure, you take 3 here, maybe he blocks with a Dream Thief.
It might be 4 if Zach plays his other Merry Bards. He also has a Spell Scorn Coven in hand, which is that adventure fairy that makes your opponent discard a card when it comes in. So Zach's sort of got a sub-theme of at least quite a few discard spells to keep the opponent low on resources.
Interesting. So we're just going to toss the Merry Bards out here.
So
get this guy to a 4/3. That'll get the block. Sure enough.
I do say I am very much behind this Elvish Archivist becoming a Cloud Blazer here. Drawing 2 cards off the... So you're drawing 2 cards off the Witch's Vanity, right? And you're getting a 2/3, and you're getting a food token, which gains life. So you are most of the way. You're the most of the way up the ladder here. And now suddenly he has a board presence
stabilize here. He does have Italian in hand. I do believe that's going to get eaten up by the spell scorn unless Zach drew something else.
Yeah, well, he drew a Barrow Naughty, but I think the Coven is going to be more useful here. I'm thinking the 1/1 is going to get in front of the 5/4 here, if I had to guess.
I think you'd be pretty good on that guess. Jordan might.
Yeah, I don't know if he wants to sacrifice his his draw spells here because he's gonna get to draw 2 cards next turn off of the roll token. Oh,
looks like he just wants to get rid of this 5/4 right now.
Okay. I mean, when you're at 7, you can't be too picky. Like I'd want all the cards still, but
I think it's interesting Zach decided to kill the Archivist instead of the Lookout. I'm not sure which one's the right choice.
So the Archivist is gonna get bigger this turn because of the Welcome to Sweet Tooth. So the Archivist would have drawn a card and gotten 2 counters on it, rather than this situation. So the Tanglespan Lookout does not cap you on how many cards you can draw a turn with it. It's just whenever an aura comes in. Elvish Archivist caps you at 1 maximum card per turn. But it does count any enchantment, so you don't necessarily have to play an aura. But looks like Jordan's at least set himself well to at least survive the next little bit. But now the Taken by Nightmares off the top is going to be death for this Lookout. But it's already drawn him a couple cards, so can't be too sad about it.
Effectively, Jordan is at 10 life right now, going back down to 8 pretty much.
Yeah, and these foods are actually will do something with the Sir Ginger, right? Do you get to scry and put a counter on it?
Yeah. Jordan's definitely finding value here after a really, really rough start. I mean, this is really interesting to see this clawback.
There was a game I saw last week that Jordan had a Sir Ginger. He had Yenna, and he kept copying Welcome to Sweet Tooth with the Yenna. So at one point, Sir Ginger had 30 power, and the opponent had an Ashiok in play. So the Sir Ginger actually had trample and hexproof.
Yuck.
So
what do you do?
That was a funny thing. I don't quite expect it to get up to 30 power here, but that was not something I was expecting to see this league.
We have a Horn Lockwell off the top.
That seems okay. I mean, he is going to be just taking 2 damage here for a while. He does have the food, but he does need to do something about that 2/3, but we'll see what he decides to do with his next turn. Yeah, Jordan, Zach does have a Taken by Nightmares, the Exile spell, which he's going to leave up here.
I assume he's going to hope that Jordan gets greedy and puts it on one of his creatures. Well, one of the good creatures. Of course he's going to put it on a creature, right?
So he can target the Sir Ginger here with the Taken by Nightmares, but Jordan can actually fizzle it by sacking Sir Ginger, right? Because it has the food ability.
Yep.
Rather than gain 3 life, you just gain life equal to its power, but it still has that food self-sacrifice. So Sir Ginger is looking pretty large here. I think he possibly is going to start. Yeah, so if he attacks with the Sir Ginger, that takes away the ability to sacrifice it. It's like Jordan's going to start getting frisky here with obviously the large creature, but the Lookout as well.
I think he definitely wants to try and get this life swing a bit more equal.
Yeah, he hasn't really made any inroads yet on Zach's life, and he's hoping to start here, but Sir Ginger's going to get exiled, unfortunately.
Now, can Jordan Lockwell his own Sir Ginger?
Depends what the wording of it is.
Yeah. Oh. He looked at it for a second. I'm going to assume maybe not.
So he's seeing now a mountain, which he's fixing to put on the bottom, and a Not Dead After All.
Ooh.
1 mana sort of trick where your creature comes back after it dies with a wicked roll. Here comes the Witch, and he's going to leave up mana for that Lockwell. I assume he's just going to target the 2/3 fairy with it.
I mean, before he swung, I don't think that would have been the case.
Yeah, so 3/2 is just going to block the 2/2. So he played the Baronati first so that if he used it on the Merry Bards, it would come back and he could put a young hero on one of his other creatures. If the Coven left the battlefield, he would have the Baronati to do it on.
So he's going to grab the Spell Scorn here.
Yeah, so the spell scorn is not really going to be that useful if Jordan's going to play out his spells, but
Yeah.
it's still a source of damage here, and Jordan still doesn't have any flying, so I can't see it as that bad to keep it, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, so there's Barrow. Yeah, so now we got Barrow Naughty, which is going to grow with the young hero just once, unfortunately, but
Grew to 2/4 though.
So interesting, the 1/3 and the 2/3 is coming in. Yeah, so he's just going to take it. And he's going to play the Lock Whale. So Jordan can deal 3 damage with the Barrow Naughty, but that's not quite going to be enough here, and it does not have lifelink because the Spellscorn Coven is in Zach's hand. Feels like he probably should have played it before combat, right? Yeah,
I think so.
He immediately oops. Yeah. That's 2 life.
The small amount of life sometimes makes a difference, especially when your opponent's going to be gaining 3 themselves.
He could have been at 11 here. We'll see if that's going to end up coming around here. Did Jordan draw anything of consequence?
Jordan did draw Talion, the Kindly Lord.
Ooh, that's nice. It's a blocker at the very least.
Yeah.
It's a blocker, and it's if you pick the right number. I know I played it against Jordan today, and he was very hesitant to play anything into it. He played exactly one thing into it, and then basically had to tiptoe around it for the rest of the game. So that card is... I usually name 3 unless I know for a fact there's something in my opponent's hand or something in adventure that is something other than 3, but normally I just name 3. And now this
does Zach draw anything to help decide this at all?
Now this is looking favorable for Jordan now here after
just to think, with some clean mid-game play. Close.
Yeah, I think the key play for me was the giving away his Archivist to get that 5/4 off the battlefield when he could have just sort of chumped and then kept drawing more cards, but he played it tight. He made sure he didn't die. He gave up one of his card draw engines while keeping the other. And that Edgewall in, not too useful. Don't think Zach has an adventure creature in the graveyard. No, not 100% certain if he does or not.
I think we've seen him play one. I know last game we saw him play the Elementalist.
Yeah,
Jordan.
The coven,
Nightmare, though.
The coven that's in play has adventure, but
I highly doubt you're looking to send it to the yard to buy it back with N on this board state, huh?
So interesting. Yeah, so basically this 6/6 has to be blocked, so Jordan could just attack with more or less more things if he wanted to, no? I mean, I guess there's the lifelink. There's the lifelink here, so technically Zach can double block the 2/3 and still live because of the lifelink. Yeah. Unless Jordan has an instant to muck that up.
Jordan does have Hopeless Nightmare in hand.
Interesting. He's going to block the whale.
Huh.
No, that can't be right. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that Hopeless Nightmare is going to deal just that last 2, which is all you need. So, nice little play there. I feel like he could have attacked with more just to really seal up the game right then and there, but...
I mean, clean play. You never bet against Jordan, huh?
Usually unwise too, I would say, yeah. He knows how to get people dead, and he's exhibited that time and time again.
Yeah, I think if I was in that same board state, I don't know if I would have traded both or double blocked when he did with the Archivist and the Lookout.
Yeah,
I'm definitely too greedy.
I was like, I want to keep my card draw engines. That's how I'm pulling back in this game. But he said, I'm not going to be greedy. I know I know I have 2 cards coming from the lookout next turn by itself, so let's start from there. Let's get the threat off the board and proceed. So Zach's
See this
wondering if he
game 3
wants to
shoots
do
around.
any sideboarding here. I see a couple of Shatter the Oaths in his sideboard. I guess he just doesn't want. He already has 2 taken by Nightmares, so he just feels that something like Shatter the Oath, which most black decks probably still want or are still playing, just isn't really where it's at for him.
I mean, I think I definitely still play it, depending on what your removal situation is. Like, if you have, like, a place that are more of Candy Grapples, another good removal, then, like, sure, you might be able to skimp. But I do find value in being able to get rid of enchantments also with it.
His main, he has the End. He has 2 taken by Nightmares. He has a Witchstalker Frenzy, a Torch the Tower. It's more or less most of his, and a cut in. There are just like a contingent of players that just the five mana sorcery removal just does not interest them, almost ever. Sometimes like it doesn't matter what they're. It just they don't want to pay 5 mana and tap out just to kill one thing to get a 1 for 1.
It's
Like
fair.
with the quality of the cards nowadays, it's like you're almost always going to be down a card and definitely down tempo and usually down mana by doing that. So I still got my head still in like when I first started drafting in 14, and it's like removal is key. Take removal. We're okay paying 6 mana for removal, but some people are not okay with it.
Yeah, it's kind of where I'm at, I I draft with players that they just take removal the first pack every time.
Yeah, I've had people tell me I overvalue removal, and they're probably right, and I'll probably continue to do so, perhaps to my detriment at times.
So
Zach
Jordan
has
did
finally.
make one change. Jordan
Yeah.
put in the 3/1 Red Tooth. That is
Okay.
it.
So Zach's found a hand that he's happy to keep here after 2 mulligans. He's got Cut In, Torch the Tower, and Fairy Fencing for removal. He's got a Tattered Radder for turn 2 and a Redcap Thief for turn 3. So just 2 lands though total.
Sounds fair. Jordan's rocking with the one land you see on the field. One more Swamp in hand, 2 Forests, and then a Conceited Witch, the Lookout, and a Taken by Nightmares.
Yeah,
He did keep the Island and the Glutton on top of the deck, though.
Yeah, it's just so consistent his deck with like the two Lookout and the 2 Archivist that there's just such a good chance he pulls one each game.
Yeah,
that just goes so far because those cards just pile up the advantage. And like if it's only 1 card in your deck, it's like you see it sometimes and it's good, but he just sees them like almost every game probably. Yeah, there it is. This is probably gonna be worthy of eating a removal here. We'll see if Zach decides he wants to use a Torch the Tower, a Fairy Fencing, or a Cut In on it. All of them are quite fine.
I'm pretty sure he wants it going.
Yeah, he's going to use the Cut In here. No matter which one he used, he was going to have to use his treasure. So he said, let's do the one that deals more damage to the opponent.
The answer. So Jordan did just draw the Witch's Vanity. Perfect answer.
Witch's Vanity, yeah. This reminds me of, if you played Theros Beyond Death, Elspeth's Nightmare, I think it was. Very reminiscent of that. The first ability was basically identical.
I'm trying to remember what Elspeth is. That the 5-drop?
No, it was a 3 mana uncommon. It had the exact same ability as the first chapter. Second chapter was like a duress. And then the third chapter was you exile opponent's graveyard, which in Theros Beyond Death was a pretty big deal.
Interesting. I think Jordan's going to slap down his Glutton here.
Yeah.
I do like getting rid of this enchantment. Like the Wicked Rule is really not going on anything. Nope. There's other options where the Sir Ginger he just drew, or a Witch, or just hold Taken by Nightmare. But I would assume you want to hold Taken by Nightmare for something else.
Yeah, so
like this Glutton's going to do a lot of work.
So now Zach's in a little bit of trouble here. He's still going to send in the Tango Colony, but Jordan can ignore that at least for now.
Yeah.
He's got a Hopeless Nightmare, which he's going to play. This is going to set up at least hoping to use the Torch to Tower to kill something and Scry 2, so he can find a couple more lands. He has the Merry Bards, the Edgewell Pack, Fairy Fencing, and Torch the Tower, but again, no lands. And without those Shatter the Oaths, there's not that many ways a 6/6 is actually dealt with by his deck. We did see in game 1 he used the fairy fencing to shrink it in combat. But yeah, he has at least 3 cards in his deck that can kill it, but they're all double black cards.
It's just where those Shadow the Oaths kind of come in handy. Granted, with 2 or 3 mana, you're not casting it anyway.
Nope.
But I do find it nice to be able to kill these big boys.
And even if he does, well, he does have 2 Taken by Nightmares and the End, but obviously not the mana to cast it, nor the cards themselves. But he is going to get a nice scry here, at least. Hopefully dig him towards answers and or lands to kill this Surge Injure. So he sees a Minecart, Daredevil, and a Mountain. Looks like he's thinking about keeping both. Problem with the Minecart Daredevil is it doesn't really even get his creatures into range to trade with the Glutton. That's kind of the
even
problem.
If he plays it out and goes for a double block, that sets up a world to just kind of get blown out by Taken by Nightmares. But Jordan is probably just going to concede the Witch on the 6/6 and put it out of range anyway.
Yeah, he already sort of just has like some medium creatures in hand between Mary Bards and Edgewell. He does keep the Daredevil under the Mountain, so he did put 2 on top. I'm not sure what like another filler type creature is helpful here. He already has sort of just a bunch of filler dudes in play. I mean, he can try and race here. What's Jordan have left?
Taken by Nightmares, he's going to cast now.
Again,
and then we'll continue the Witch.
The key to the Tango Colony is having a clean answer to it, which he did have both times here. Which is Vanity in the other game, and
he did just draw the Troll.
Ooh, yeah.
Another way to cleanly answer.
Yeah, so we had an interesting back and forth today with that Troll because it was revealed in his hand from having drawn it from something or other. It was revealed in his hand that was the issue, and I just had 3 instant speed removal, and I had to just keep leaving them up every turn. He sort of got to play other stuff, and and now
that is brutal.
This Troll's getting another aura on it, which is just going to be brutal here for Zach.
Yeah, and being really behind on lands, you can't really double spell.
So this is almost death here. He does have a fairy fencing, so he can attack his 2/3 in, but Jordan can just take it.
Yeah, I'm not sure Jordan would be scared of this attack.
Yeah, this is
what's the craziest pump you could do.
This is where Fossenbane Troll becomes like completely horrifying, is when you can actually kill something and get another aura on it. That is just where it becomes basically unbeatable. Like on its face, it's just always a great 2-for-1, but like when it can do more than that, wow. So the 1/1 here, he could have attacked and he could have done Minecart Daredevil plus Fairy Fencing for 1. But that still's not enough.
I guess Jordan's thinking, do I just go for it?
Yeah, so he can sort of negate the fight here with the Fairy Fencing. Or he can Minecart Daredevil to pump his creature, but I think he'd rather just use the Fairy Fencing just to make the Fonsbane Troll smaller. He can also just attack with a 5/5 as well.
Yeah.
Like, Zach has to do something. If Jordan just goes to attacks and turns both creatures sideways, Zach has to act. Whether it's a chump block or whether it's a removal or whatever it is.
Well, Jordan's definitely given this some thought, so he's definitely respecting the open mana.
Yeah, there's only so much he could have, right? Like, he can't represent, Taken by Nightmares, for example, or even the End. So he's mostly representing burn and or pump here.
The card he drew for turn was the Archivist. That's really not going to do anything currently.
Nope, that's a 0/1 until further notice.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think his decision here is whether to use the ability of the Fonsbane Troll or not, and see what Zach has pre-combat. You
said Zach has fencing, minecart.
Yeah, and he has his Mary Bards that has been sitting around for the whole game in his hand.
Yeah. It's unfortunate being stuck on 4. That's pretty much all your mana right there.
I'd be curious to see what the next card in Zach's deck is, that because like that basically would have been the Minecart Daredevil. To see if that would have been something better. Because I wasn't sure about keeping that one on top.
Yeah. Oh, Jordan sniffs it away a mile away. He just typed fairy fencing question mark.
I mean that's the most logical thing to represent here.
Yeah.
And by just attacking with this, I mean he doesn't have to block, but he needs to be doing something here. So he just says, let me attack with my 6/6 trample. I put my troll in the way of your fairy fencing. If you want to use your fairy fencing, it doesn't even work. -3/-3 to the Hamlet Glutton. Still doesn't work.
Yeah. I can see Zach taking the risk of taking 6 though, based off what happened last game, how he died to the Hopeless Nightmare.
Yeah.
But I guess he's going to take that chance here. If you got it, you got it.
I mean, what can you do? But I mean, this is kind of like it's a Hopeless Nightmare on delay here. It's like a menace creature. And the Elvish Archivist, and he just says, I don't need to use this troll. I'll just make you have something. And Zach basically got to do nothing with his turn. Like, I'm not sure what he could draw here. I mean, even if he draws one of his removals, it's just another red cap thief. It's gonna basically end it. Yeah, he doesn't have enough to block the trample here. Yeah. So Jordan, some shrewd moves in game 2 to keep himself alive and give him a chance to win, and then just sort of overwhelming Zach here with big creatures while Zach wasn't hitting all of his lands. So congratulations to Jordan on that win, and we'll see Zach back in a little bit with potentially some new cards from his pack for our second match of the night.